elaborated on the science of persuasion. Can you talk a little bit more about that? It's quite a...
Well, we are, as humans, we're all wired a certain way from an evolutionary perspective. And Cialdini wrote a book called The Science of Persuasion. And they identified 6 shortcuts that we as humans all make in the way that we go about making decisions. One would assume that we're all logical about how we make decisions, but the reality is we're not logical about how we make decisions. We make decisions based on emotion, and we use logic after the fact to justify the decisions. So Cialdini talks about these 6 shortcuts, and these are things like social proof, it's consistency, it's liking, stuff that I've discussed elsewhere in the video, and the links to the Science of Persuasion YouTube video explains in great detail how that all works. But we inculcated facets of the Science of Persuasion into everything that we did when we manifested our proposition. So social proof, we have an automatic testimonial gathering technology in play in our proposition, and that encourages people who are so minded to give us a testimonial about the experience that they've had with us, both on the unpaid service and the paid service. So now we've got something like 150, 160 testimonials, 7 or 8 pages on our websites. And as Seth Godin says, with testimonials, the only thing you need to do is just collect them and then stick them on a page. And then after a while, after you get past 30 or 40, you've achieved your objective, which is to inculcate social proof into your proposition. Social proof being that, under the Science of Persuasion, is that if somebody else is doing it, then it must be okay to say for me to do it instead, right? So that kind of thing. More recently, the notion of Science of Persuasion has been augmented in my own mind through Russell Brunson's work in his book Expert Secrets, where it's really all about storytelling and taking people on a journey and tapping into the most efficient way to communicate human to human. And then Kern and his work, which taught me the Bob scenario. The idea that we as humans communicate on 2 levels. We communicate on the surface level and we communicate on the core level. And the surface level reflects the fact that we have, all of us have, an externally derived identity. It's the identity that we assume as a result of the expectations of others in our lives that dictate that we behave and perform certain roles and do certain things. So, for example, our external identities are imposed on us by the fact that we're a father, or we're a son, or we're a husband, or we're an executive or an employee or a business owner, or we're involved in church, or whatever it is. Aspects of our lives that are in a sense determined by other people's expectations of who we are and how we behave, that's our social identity. But underneath all of that is this core identity, and this core identity is who we really are. It's what we really want. What we think our lives are all about, what we worry about, what we're concerned about. And so when you're dealing with people at the communication level, you've got to understand that your initial foray to communicate with people has got to occur at the surface level. So in Hong Kong immigration, for example, when we communicate at the surface level, we're communicating at the level that basically says something like this: do you have a visa problem? And that is enough to draw people to our solution. So once we get them into our websites, the communication that's going on is not at the surface level. The communication that's going on is at the core level. And the core level is designed specifically to allow them to, emotionally relate to what this experience is all about. And in a sense, that's where the jobs to be done comes in, because the jobs to be done absolutely speaks to what's really driving, their emotional decision making at this juncture. And so when you're speaking to the emotional level, you're speaking to, will I be able to get all the paperwork together, and what will happen if one really important document is missing, and I know that I'm going to need a university degree, but I didn't go to university. I actually didn't graduate from university. Will that be an issue for me? And if so, am I going to be able to explain to my boss, who's arranged for this transfer, that when my CV said that I had this degree, I don't actually have the degree because I'm still 2 units away from graduating from it. You've got a lot of emotional sort of responses that are in play here because you're worried about all of this. So the Hong Kong Visa Handbook is designed to address the relationship at the emotional level, not at the surface, so at the core level. At the core level, not at the surface level. And when you communicate at the surface level, as we did with Bob, you're actually able to persuade people that this is something you should be paying attention to, because this party has got an acute understanding of what it is that you're feeling about these matters. So that's why I Am Bob is really all about explaining how I felt 7 years ago when I was coming to this initiative, and why it was unsustainable for me to carry on doing what I was doing, because something had to change. And I Am Bob is designed to communicate to people who are using this website, because this material is designed to speak to those emotions, and only having gone through those emotions myself am I able to actually quite credibly expect that I can have relationships with people that are looking for the solution that I think intelligent content marketing represents.